Hello, hello. Welcome to the Make Your Studio Facebook page. I am Cheryl from over at the Home of My Making Facebook page. So I'm so glad that you can join me today over here. So I've been asked to do a cute, fun project with one of the Maker Studio stencils. So today we're going to do a project using the Bloom Where You Are Planted stencil. So I have created so many projects with this stencil. I love it for one reason. It has flowers on it and I love flowers, but I love the detail and I also love that it's a outlined stencil. So as you can see, I've done a project already that I just used the stencil and didn't do any coloration in it. So today I'm going to show you a take on that project with a little bit of color. So let's get started, and as you pop on, let me know where you're watching from. So this stencil is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch stencil, and it is a tri-mesh stencil, so it has so much detail, so much detail. It does come on its own backing, so it is adhesive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the backing, and you want to save the backing because that's where you're going to put the stencil after you have cleaned it and dried it, so you could store it right back in that sleeve that it came from. So I'm going to lay my stencil on a piece of watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is really, really good for this project. This is also what I used on here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with some gel art ink. Now we have a lot of fabulous colors in the gel art ink, and I'm going to use about 4 of them today. So the colors that I'll be using are the Maker Studio Yellow in Over Yonder, the Maker Studio Green is Green in Grass is Always Greener, and the orange in Lord Have Mercy, and the black in Can't Never Could. Now I'm going to start with the black. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that this stencil is flush with your surface. And I'm going to use the black first, and I'm going to actually omit the words Bloom Where You Are Planted. So if you notice on the side of the stencil it says Bloom Where You Are Planted. So one of the things I like to do with the stencils is you don't always have to use all of the stencil. I could actually turn that sideways just like here and put Bloom Where You Are Planted on another project, or I can just use this part and put it on this project, or there I use both parts of the stencil for that project. So many different ways you could use this. You can use half of it on something. So keep that in mind. You don't always have to use the stencil in its entirety. So I am going to start with the Can't Never Could black gel art ink in the Maker Studio brand. Now we have a bunch of new squeegees, and this is one of the squeegees that I'm going to be using today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put some of this Can't Never Could black gel art ink on the back of this squeegee. I like using the back, not the curved edge. So I'm going to put some of it on here. My theory is less is more. You can always go back. So as you can see, I'm only using a little. Now I am going to try to stay away from the words Bloom Where You Are Planted and the Maker Studio brand over here. I just want to use the foliage and the flowers in this particular project. I am going to be mindful, actually it doesn't even matter on this particular project, but if you think you're going to go off, you can tape it off. But for this project, it's not going to matter. So press down and just get the product through the stencil. So what I'm looking for, since the paper is a little bit of an off-white color, if I see that I don't press the gel art ink through there, I will see the color coming through from the surface. So that's what I'm keeping in mind when I'm pressing, just to make sure I get over all the areas. I'm just making sure that I don't see any of that surface color shining through. If I do, I just go over it. And I'm moving my paper just to make it easier for me to reach in the certain areas. Again, if I see a little spot that doesn't have anything, just go right over it. And if you need to add more gel art ink to your squeegee, just go ahead and do that. So I just need a little bit more, and then I would have gotten the whole thing covered. Again, I'm omitting the Bloom Where You Are Planted. So squeegees are washable, so I do have a water bath right over here, and I'm going to put my squeegee in there and I will wash it later. I'm also going to take this off of the paper and I'm going to put this stencil right in that water bath because I don't want the product to dry during my live. And later on, I will go and run it underwater, and then I will dry it sticky side up. And when it's dried, I will put it back on its backing when it's totally dry. And then I will slip it back into the original sleeve that it came in, and that would be good to go to be reused many times after that. So here's where I'm at. I just have the outline of the flowers and the foliage in this particular project. So let me go ahead and close up the gel art ink. It is a water-based product, so you do want to keep your containers closed. As you're hopping on here, if you want to be in the selection process to win the stencil, go ahead and tag 3 friends below and you will be automatically entered to win this particular stencil from a maker studio. So this one is wet, so I do need this to dry in order to go to the next stage. So make sure this is dry. So just for demonstration purposes, I have done another one and this is completely dry. You do need it to dry in order to proceed to the next process. So I'm going to take the next 3 colors that I want to use. One is the over yonder in the yellow. I'm just going to put some in this little container for paint. And then this is the orange that is Lord Have Mercy. And then the green is Grass is Always Greener. I'm going to put some of that in here too. So this is a fun, easy process, no skill set, because I'm going to just show you everything you need to know to understand how to do this. I do have 2 water baths here with just clear water in it, and I'm going to start with 2 brushes. Now these are also from a maker studio. They're an artist brush, and what I like about this particular brush for this project is the point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the water out of here and I'm going to put it in one of these bowls, or the little hole in the bowl, I should say. And I'm going to take some of that green and I'm going to put it in here. I do want this a pretty much a watery consistency. And as you can see, it's pretty watery, right? So that's exactly what I want. So remember, my surface that I stenciled is completely dry at this process. And again, don't do this until it's dry, otherwise you will smear everything. So what I'm going to do, now this is just a simple technique that I think is pretty fun and it doesn't take any artistic ability. So before I do that, I'm going to take my other brush, which is clean now, dip it in the water. I'm going to offload it just by scraping it on the side of the bowl. And where these flowers are, I'm just going to put some water on top of that. So basically just these leaves over here. For now, I'm going to run some water on that. Now, remember, if this isn't dry, that would smear. So make sure your surface is dry. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to take, let me see if you can see that. I'm going to take the watered down green and I am going to offload most of it out of the brush. Now, since this has got a pointed edge, that pointed edge I want to lay to the tip of this leaf and I just want to press it down. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to do. And I don't necessarily need to get it in the lines. I actually like when it's off of the diagram, or in this case, let me show you what I'm doing. So can you see how that is? I'm just adding a little bit of green to each one of these leaves. And I'm starting with the point and just pressing it down. If you have to add some more, go ahead and do that. Now, depending on how well you mix your paint is the coloration that you're going to get. So if you notice, I just colored it just a tad, and I don't mind that it's overlapped on the outline. I actually like that, and that was what I wanted to achieve. So by keeping that point pointed out from the leaf, just press it and go like that. So basically you're not doing anything. If you need to fill it in, but if you look, you're going to get, just by that process, you're going to get a lot of shading. and you didn't do anything. So let me finish up the last couple of leaves that I had laid down some water on. Now I do like every process that you add a color to first add some water to where you're going to be doing your color. So like I said, I'm going to put some water on this particular brush. This is the clean brush, that's the dirty brush. And I'm just going to go over every little one of these little leaves on here. And just a tad on each one of these really simple leaves here. I'm just adding a little bit of water. Again, there's really no artistic ability if you just do this process. And it'll look like you created this beautiful piece of art. Shh, don't tell anybody that the stencil actually did it. So again, I'm going to dip in this and I'm going to offload it. And with the very point, because these particular leaves are thin, I'm just going to use the tip and I'm going to just fill in. Now, I don't mind that it actually seeps out of the original design. I like the way that looks. So I'm only going over the leaves that I had previously wet with the color that I have mixed right here. And again, watercolor paper is great for this. Let me just show you what I've achieved so far. So see, that's all I've done so far. Now, try not to lift it like I just did because you don't want your water to drip. Show you how it looks. So again, I'm going to take my clean brush again, dip it in the clean water, and I do have some more leaves that I want to color in going up this design. Again, going to dip in the watered down green gel art ink and just fill in. Now, if you notice, I'm not painting them. I'm not acting like I want to paint the design. I'm actually going over it wider than it is by pressing the brush down. So that's what I have so far. So I'm going to stick that in the water and clean off this particular brush. And then I'm going to continue to my other colors. So let's start with the orange. I'm going to add some water to one of these empty bowls over here, the little vessel over here. And I'm going to add, again, some orange, and I'm going to water it down a real lot. Again, just like I did the green, just by adding some water. And then I'm going to offload it. Now, there are some flowers on this particular design, little buds here and little buds here. Those little buds I'm going to do in orange, and then I'm going to do in yellow. I'm just going to randomly pick which ones I want to do the orange with. And again, all I'm doing is just laying my brush down right over the design, just like that. Can you see what I did? Just right over the design. It even goes on the outside of the outline. So I'm just randomly doing them because I want them all the two colors, the yellow and the orange. Just dot it on there and you'll see what I have. See how I just randomly put it? No rhyme or reason. That's the good thing about this project. It will always come out different every time. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to mix the yellow into another watered down version. Again, taking some of this water, putting in this open space and mixing it with some yellow. Again, get it real watered down. And don't forget to like offload the water out of your brush when you go to attempt to put it on the paper. So the other ones that are left, the other flowers that are left, I'm just pressing down. I'm not even filling it in, just pressing it down. I'll show you what I got. That's what I got so far. Kind of looks like I painted this whole thing, but the stencil is the trick, because the design is there. All you're doing is adding a little color. So what I'm going to do is the top of these flowers, this section here, and the top of this flower, I'm going to put a little bit of water, and then I'm going to put my yellow down. I'm only doing the top edge of the flower. I'm not going to do the inside with the yellow anyways. I'm going to come back and again, just lightly lay the yellow on the perimeter of the flower. And remember, I'm not even keeping it inside the lines. In fact, I'm actually intentionally going outside the lines. Don't forget, guys, when you hop on, tag 3 friends so you can be in the drawing to win this stencil. So you see what I did? I just did the outside, and you've seen the motion I did. Just pat. Just pat. I'm just letting the brush do the work, and I'm also letting the stencil do the work for me. So I'm going to rinse off that brush, and now I'm going to go back into the orange. But before I do that, again, I'm going to add a little bit of water now to the inside of these flowers where I didn't put color. And then I'm going to come back and add a little bit of orange. I'm going to offload it so it's not runny. And I just want the inside of the flower to be orange. So it looks variegated, and really the stencil did the trick. So there you go. Isn't that beautiful? Now, if you notice, I did go out the lines, and I like that. I like how it looks like it's outside of the diagram. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to push everything to the side. I'm going to set this over here to dry, and I'm going to take a surface. Now, this is just a plain 8x10 surface, but the inside is smaller. And I'm going to take our One Step paint in the Amy Howard at Home brand. Now, one step doesn't necessarily mean one coat. It does mean one step. So there's no sanding, priming. And the thing about this paint, it's a chalk-based paint. So it's got a lot of water in it. You could add more water to it if it gets thicker. But one thing I like to do, they do come in little sample pots like this. I get these little condiment cups at the Dollar Tree, and I like to just put some paint in there only because I'm a messy painter, and it always clogs up my rim of my jars because I'm messy and I can't get them back open. So these are simple. When they're done, I just get rid of them. So I'm going to take a brush, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside surface and up the side with the One Step paint in Bauhaus Buff. Now, that particular paint it's their white, but it's not like bright white. So I love using that. And actually, my watercolor paper that I used wasn't a really, really bright white. So just long strokes, and that'll get you covered. Like I said, the One Step paint doesn't necessarily mean one coat. It does mean no sanding, priming, and stripping, though, when you're going to go use it on a surface. Like all I did with this particular surface to prepare it for this paint is just make sure it was dust-free and didn't have anything on it that can get in the way of the paint adhering. So when you use this type of paint on furniture, you would use a furniture cleaner to get any surfactants off of it so that the paint does not stick in that area. Say it had like some furniture polish on it or something, and then you could just use this paint, the One Step paint, and cover any piece of furniture that you have with no sanding, priming. It's great. And I have done it, and I am not a painter or a furniture finisher by trade. That's the good thing with the products, is they're formulated to work for you and not against you, so that we can all make artisan level design pieces and furniture. So I'm just going to come up the side, and I'm not going to get it on the top part. So if you can see, I'm just getting it over here. And this paint, being a chalk-based paint, does dry pretty quick. It might have covered with one coat. I might get lucky. So again, I'm not trying to get it up on the side. I'm just trying to get the inside lip. Meanwhile, my artwork over there is drying. So wasn't that a fun process? You really don't even need to be a watercolor artist. All you need to do is have the right products. We have a couple of different stencils at a maker studio that you can do that same process with. So if you go and look at the stencils, you'll actually see the stencils that have like a cutout design per se, or an outline design. You can do that same process with the watercolor. So we have a variety of stencils that you can, that you can do that with. So again, I'm just going in here trying to get the inside done and the inside lip. I got one more side to go. Now normally, if this didn't cover the first time, what I would do is let it dry for at least 20 minutes and then go ahead and apply your second coat. If you felt that you wanted to speed up the process, then you can use a heat gun. I am going to use a heat gun today just because we are on a live, but normally that's when I probably would just go throw a load of laundry in and do something else. If I got any on the top, what I'm going to do is just take my finger and get it off. So it looks like I got it pretty well covered on the inside. And just for the purpose of a live, I am going to heat set it, but normally it takes about 15 minutes. It dries pretty quick. I think I might need a second quick coat because I could see my brush strokes in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick second coat of the one-step paint. Up and down. And that will cover it all up. I'm going to quickly do the sides. And that should be good to go. I should get all of it covered in 2 coats. If it was a darker color and I was doing a piece of furniture, it might need 3 coats because it's the white. But since it's a raw piece of wood, I really don't have any color to go over. Okay, got that done. Again, I'm going to heat set it real quick. And then I'm going to take my green in boxwood, English boxwood. I love the color of this green. And remember, these come in a 4-ounce container, sample pot. We have them in bigger containers over at the amyhoward.com website. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse off this brush. And just the top of this, am I going to color or paint with the English boxwood. Now I don't want to get it on the side and I don't want to get it on this side. I just want it on the surface of the top. This color seeps into the wood. It's such a pretty, pretty green. I always say you're either a green person or a blue person, meaning you either like greens or blues. What are you guys? Are you a green person or a blue person? And if you haven't figured that out yet, all you have to do is either look at your decor and you'll figure it out. You either tend to gravitate towards blues or you gravitate towards green. I actually used to be a green person. I still am a green person. But when I moved, because I was a green person, and I got to do a house all over again, I decided I wanted to do it in blues, just because I didn't want to have the same thing. And green is so popular now. So I do get a little bit of it in my decor. And I'm definitely getting a little bit of it in this decor piece. So again, the one step paint is a chalk based paint. Very, very easy to work with, as you can see. I'm just working outward because I don't want to get the sides of this with the paint. Normally, it would take me a lot longer to do this. I just want to get this done so you can see how it looks. There's so many beautiful colors in this one-step paint. This is one of my favorite colors. Okay, I'm just trying not to get into the inside of that or on the outside of that. So I just keep flipping to either side so I don't get it on the edges. This is another one of those products that I think less is more. So again, I don't think I'm getting it in there. Let me switch to this side, get this side done. Again, I'm working outward towards the outside and then inward towards the inside so I don't get that paint on the edge of there or on this edge. Because I am going to leave the frame, I am going to leave the frame raw on the side. I'm not going to paint that. It just gives another color for the eye. A little bit more to go and then I'm done. I'm working out again. Then I'll just look and make sure I got it all. So remember, the inside is the Bauhaus Buff. The outside is the boxwood, green boxwood. I'm just going to get this little, the last minute I get it on the side. There you go. So there you go. This is what I have. I have the inside done with the Bauhaus Buff. I got the top done with the boxwood green, and I have my, let me just make sure I have nothing on my hands. I have my original art that I've done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to the side and let it dry. And I'm just going to very gently rip this particular paper. Now I love the way it looks raw edged like that. I think again it adds another texture to it. So I'm going to just try to kind of rip it straight, but not really because it's ripped. And then if I need to trim it, I'll trim it when I get it all done. So I'm just gonna come up the side. The good thing about this watercolor paper is it does give you a nice tear look. It kind of takes off a couple of the layers, so it gives you another kind of texture on here. So remember, I did keep out the words "bloom where you are planted" in this particular project, but if you wanted to keep that in there, you can, or you can, again, just use those wordings on a whole nother project. Okay, I'm going to come down one side. I'm being mindful to make sure that this is dried. You don't want to do this unless it's dried and ruin your artwork. Okay, let me just tear this a little bit. Get rid of that. Here's what I'm left with. So see how simple that is? Kind of looks like that one, but it's a little bit different. So here's what I'm going to do. I do have some, it's double-sided sticky tape. So it's kind of on the thick side. And mine comes in little pieces, but you usually can get it in a roll. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of them off of this backing. And I'm going to put it on the back side of this picture. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want to lift it. If you notice, this is a little bit lifted, again, giving another dimension. Stick it on the back of there. Again, this is almost like that one that I've already done, but it's a little different. And again, this is such a fun technique with the watercolor wash. No artistic ability needed at all. You let the brush and the paint do the work for you. And obviously the stencil gave you the design. So I have 4 pieces set on there. You know what? I do need to cut it a little bit. Let me just trim it so it fits in there better. Let's see. Trim it more. I'm just doing that because I don't want it butted up against the edges. I think I'm going to come down on this side. So all I'm doing is just tearing this down this side. No rhyme or reason. That's what makes this such a fun project. Let's see. I made that a little bit smaller. Okay, so I think that's going to work. And I'm going to lay that right in here. And that double-sided sticky tape is literally going to hold it in there. So I'm just going to press it down. And you have yourself a unique, your own decor piece. So here you go. What do you guys think? Isn't that beautiful? Now it's a take on this one, totally different. I left that one black and white, looks totally different. But now you can do this in any of the colors that we have. If you are a blue person, we have blue one-step paint and a lot of colors in our gel art ink. So isn't this fabulous? So see how simple that is? And again, the black and white version, a little variable, and then the watercolored version. So I hope you enjoyed this technique and will try it out. Again, no artistic ability needed. The stencils and the products do the work for you. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to tag 3 friends so that you can be in the drawing for this Bloom Where You Are Planted stencil. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day.